Good morning. This is Jerry Marshall. I'm sitting here in my home office, and I've decided to put together a little video here describing my ventures as an entrepreneur. I grew up in northwest Iowa, and you can tell with my gray hair that was a lot of years ago. I grew up on a farm. The way we got there was that my dad was superintendent of schools at West Des Moines, Iowa. And that was his profession. But he had a discussion with his dad, my granddad, that when my granddad retired from the farm, the dad would move on to it and take it over. Well, my granddad died very suddenly in December of '41, and we moved to the farm. And I'm thankful for that because I really believe that farm life was good for me. My parents were good to me. And I really learned how to work. I learned the practicalities of just getting out there and hitting it. A farmer is really an entrepreneur in and of itself. I mean, he's a self-employed guy. You get up in the morning, you do what you want to do, and when you want to do it, but usually you're working all the time, and I learned to do that. But my entrepreneurial spirit kind of got started there. I observed something that every spring we bought these little day-old chicks and put them in a brooder and took care of them and raised them. And about the end of the summer, we were selling little roosters for about $1 a piece, and the day-old chicks cost 7 cents. So I thought, I like those numbers. So I proposed to my dad that I'd buy some of these chicks when he bought them in the spring, and he agreed. So I bought, I think it's 21 chicks for 7 cents a piece. And later on sold them for $1. I thought that was a good deal. That was my beginnings as an entrepreneur. And through my life on the farm until I graduated from high school, I did all kinds of different things. I decided I'd move up from chickens to pigs, and I raised pigs, and I raised sheep, and I raised ducks and geese, and all of these, I made some money at it. And in fact, I made enough to be able to pay for my college education when it finally came to that point. When I got to, I really never worked for anybody until I graduated from high school. And I decided at that point, well, I better make some money to go to school. So I got a job with the county, and it was just pure labor, $1 an hour, 60 hours a week, no overtime. Now today that would just not fly, and you know that. But in those days, that was no big deal, and especially for a farm kid. And I didn't hate it that much, but it was hard work. And I went off to college, and I suppose there I really experienced more of my entrepreneurial attitude. I'd played football and run track and played basketball in high school. Nobody offered me any scholarships. When I got to Iowa State, I said, I think I'll go out for football. So I proceeded to go out with about 120 freshmen, walk on, and I made the team. And I did the same thing in track. So I look at that as just kind of my, this is the way I was. And if I saw something I thought I could do, I just did it. And then I proceeded to find out what the workaday world was really like. At the end of my sophomore year, I was awarded a small scholarship by a company, and the company that sponsored it also sponsored a summer employment job for scholarship students. Well, because of my football experiences, I was trying to make up some time, so I went to summer school for the first half of that summer. And then went to Milwaukee, to where this company had had a facility. And to their credit, I wasn't worth much to them. I couldn't be in half a summer. And in order to have something for me to do, they put me with a fellow student, a little research project they were doing, a little testing thing. And it was really incredibly boring. One guy would be totally bored anyway, and two, totally forget it. And in order to kill time, the company thought I ought to be reading company policies and procedures and all that. I found that so boring I couldn't even stay awake doing it. And let's see if that's what company atmosphere is like. Let's skip this. But I survived it and went back to school. And at the end of my junior year, I went to work for him again. This time in Detroit. Now I thought I was wanted to be a mechanical engineer. That's what I was training for. And I thought I wanted to be in a design business. I wanted to design equipment or whatever. Well, they put me in the design department, and the design department there was just row after row after row of drawing tables. Well, they do it a lot better now than they did then. And since they didn't really have much for me to do, or I really wasn't valuable to them, they put me in the back row, and they put me to tracing old drawings that were about to fall apart. Back in the 20s, these drawings came from the 20s. I did this for a while, and I'm sitting there looking at this and saying, this is ridiculous. I used to do this when I was a kid, tracing stuff. And now I'm sitting here with almost a college degree, and that's what I'm doing. I spent most of the summer just, oh man, this is a drag. So I had been living with a bunch of guys who were there. They were graduates who were in training as sales engineers, and I thought they were doing something that was kind of interesting. So I went to the vice president that was in charge of me and appealed to him. And I said, I'm not sure this design stuff is really what I thought it was. I'd like to move on. And these guys in sales, I might want to try that. And he said, okay. So he proceeded to get me into a position to be kind of working in the support department. And that was okay. It was a whole lot better. But when I came home from that summer, I thought, if this is what life is for the average dude out there, I've got to come up with something else. If you're that kind of a person, there's a lot of hope out there. There's stuff you can do. And we'll be talking about what that might be later. Anyway, for now, let's sign off, and I'll get back to you, and we'll continue this story on the ventures of an entrepreneur.